Give us the tools, and we will finish the job. Churchill said it on a winter night in 1941, with London bruised and blacked out, with searchlights raking the sky and bombers still circling, and he aimed those words at the one nation that had not yet joined the fight. He wasn't pleading for pity. He was specifying what victory would require. Tools, not excuses, not sympathy. Tools. Pause there, because that line isn't just a wartime broadcast. It's a blueprint for any day when life feels bigger than you, when the problems feel the size of a continent, when you want to curl up and delay. Tools are the antidote to despair. Picture the scene. February 1941. Britain stands alone. Lend-Lease is not yet law. Churchill goes to the microphone and does not whimper or flatter. He defines the gap between survival and collapse. He says, with characteristic steel, that if the necessary resources arrive, the job will be finished. That's guts. But it's more than guts. It is a habit. Translate fear into requirements. What he meant then still matters now. When your back is to the wall, the mind wants rescue. The habit you need instead is specification. What are the 3 tools that, if placed in your hands, make this problem solvable? Name them. In war they were planes, ships, munitions. In your life it might be a quiet hour, a mentor's eye, a cleaned calendar, a written plan. Don't beg for a miracle. Set the order. Send the request. Then do the work. That's lesson 1. Ask for tools, precisely, and commit to finishing the job. But imagine if we freeze the film and rewind. Because Churchill didn't learn that composure at a lectern in 1941. He learned it when his world blew apart in 1915. He had pushed for the Dardanelles campaign. It failed, catastrophically. He resigned from the Admiralty. Public confidence vanished. He went from the center of power to, in his words elsewhere, the edge of the map. In private letters to his wife Clementine that year, he let the mask slip, doubt, self-accusation, the feeling that he might be finished. No crowds, no microphones, just ink and a man measuring his own wreckage. Here's the turn. He didn't hide from the shame. He turned to a blank canvas, literally. He picked up brushes at the urging of friends and discovered painting, color, landscapes, light, as a lifeline. Instead of stewing, he apprenticed himself to a craft that rewarded patience. He asked for different tools, pigment, brush, paper. Not to escape reality, but to steady his hands and quiet the storm. Go slowly with that image, a man in political exile, learning the language of shadows and sky. That was not retreat. That was recovery with discipline. He would later return to the trenches in France as an officer, and even there he kept letters, small, human, honest. This is lesson 2. When failure hits, change the battlefield. Don't demand a fresh reputation. Build a fresh capacity. Create a practice that can carry the weight your ego cannot. If you can't fix the whole of your life today, fix a corner well. The corner will expand. What he meant then still matters now. Your mind wants a dramatic redemption arc. It wants to win the whole war in a week. Churchill made peace with small tools and slow gains. He learned to start again at 0, without the applause. And oddly, that made him dangerous when the real crisis returned, because he had already died and come back once. Now, another moment. Not in a cabinet room. On a street in New York, 1931. Darkness, a wrong glance, a car. The thud of steel against bone. He struck in traffic, badly injured. He later writes about the mistake, looking the wrong way in an American street, and the peculiar clarity that comes with a brush against death. Not melodrama, not a hero story, a correction. He changed how he walked, how he looked up, how he crossed. He adjusted quickly. That's not glamorous, but it's a leader's instinct. Lesson 3. Admit the error fast, correct the habit faster. No theatrics. The ego always wants to explain. The leader quietly retools. At work, that might mean changing how you write emails, how you run a meeting, how you schedule deep work, how you rest. Not someday. Now. The world does not grade you on intentions. It grades you on correction. You can feel the spine of these lessons forming. Ask clearly, rebuild patiently, correct quickly. But we haven't touched the dark motto he used when morale sagged and the air felt thin. It was a coarse little code scrawled into diaries and muttered in hallways. KBO. Keep buggering on. Now, say it softly but firmly to yourself. KBO. It's not a motivational poster. It's the rule for days that are boring, heavy, inconvenient, expensive, and relentlessly unglamorous. When you have 3 meetings and a headache. When the spreadsheet won't balance. When the child is ill. When the deadline moved earlier. KBO is the bridge between discipline and momentum. It says, 1 more page, 1 more call, 1 more line of code, 1 more footstep through the fog. If the plan is intact, keep moving. If the plan is broken, fix the plan, then keep moving. You may wonder, isn't there a danger in blind persistence? There is. But KBO was not blind. It was stubborn about direction and flexible about method. Churchill could shift the route. He did it with painting. He did it after the car accident. He did it when asking America for tools. Yet he kept the mission intact. That's how you use KBO without smashing yourself against a wall. Relentless in aim. Adjustable in approach. Let's put this into a day you might actually recognize. Morning darkness. Phone lighting your face. A knot of dread about the project you've delayed. The younger version of you wants a surge of inspiration. The older version, you, now, will do what Churchill did. Ask for tools. What exactly do I need to move this forward today? Maybe it's a 30-minute block, a 2-sentence summary, a list of obstacles, an email drafted before 9 a.m. Choose the smallest tool that creates real motion. Use it. Then build a corner. Not the whole cathedral. A corner with clean lines. Churchill painted skies. You can build a template. Set a rule for daily outreach, clear 100 pointless files. Not because it's the final answer, but because it is a strong first brick. Today's corner is tomorrow's wall, and when the day derails, and it will, don't narrate the tragedy. Correct. If your energy dips at 2 o'clock, move the hard task to 10. If your notes are chaos, create a name folder and a naming rule. If the lab result is wrong, rerun it without fury. Cross the street looking the right direction. Then KBO. History is a harsh teacher. Churchill's version of adulthood was the blitz and burial details and telegrams that ended families. You may not face bombers, but your storms still matter. He would not belittle them. He would hand you the habit of specification, apprenticeship, correction, and persistence, and he would do it without flinching, because sentimentality never saved a city. There's a passage in his rhythm. He builds pressure, then breaks it with a plain image. So let's do that now. Close your eyes. See a dim office, a map with pins, a pen tapping. Then the camera moves. A small studio, a canvas waiting. A man in a rumpled suit stands, injured, carrying a cane, but still working color into a cloud. That man learned that momentum can be quiet, almost invisible to the world, and still decisive. What he meant then still matters now. The world will not reward you for how loudly you suffer. It will reward the work you actually complete. That sounds cold until you realize it is wildly freeing. You don't need the perfect morning or the perfect resume. You need a tool, a corner, a correction, and a stubborn little motto. Mid-morning in 1941, he drafted messages with the same bluntness. What we need, why, by when. Consider adopting that tone in your own requests. Vagueness is the mask fear wears. Precision is the hand that pulls it off. If you're asking your team for help, write the request as if time were rationed. 2 lines, 1 deadline, 1 measurable outcome. Watch how fast the fog lifts when you stop asking for rescue and start asking for resources. Give us the tools and we will finish the job. That line carried something else. A promise. If tools arrive, work follows. In your life, keep the same bargain. If you grant yourself the tools, calendar, quiet, clarity, repay them with action. This is the moral core of leadership. Do not ask what you are not prepared to honor. Don't demand loyalty you won't reciprocate. Don't claim urgency you won't live. Respect the tools by using them. And when the old failure haunts you, think of the man who painted to steady his hands. You don't need paint. but you do need a practice that lowers the emotional noise and increases the quality of your attention. It could be a daily walk without the phone, 20 silent minutes with pen and paper, a deliberate hour of reading. Not entertainment, training. Quiet is not an escape. Quiet is a forge. Before we go further, a quick question for you. Which tool do you need most this week? Clarity, time, or accountability? Tell me in the comments. And if these hard-won lessons from history help you move forward, subscribe so you catch the next one. We're building this library together. Return to the accident for a moment. What's the most humble thing a leader can do? Say, "I was wrong," and change behavior immediately. Churchill did not let pride drag him back under the same wheels twice. If you want trust at home, at work, in your own mirror, make correction visible. Not dramatic. Visible. I was late. Now I'm early. I oversold. Now I will underpromise and overdeliver. I drowned in inbox chaos. Now I check at set hours. People trust what they see repeated. And yet, there's a tenderness in his story that is easy to miss. He held a nation through nights of fire, and he cheered schoolboys with blunt lines, but he also wrote soft, steady letters to the person he loved. He admitted fear in private so he could lead in public. That's a permission slip. You do not need to be iron all the time. You need to be honest somewhere, so you can be steady everywhere else. Let's test the architecture of these rules against a modern crisis. The kind that doesn't look heroic. You're underwater at work. The deadline is a week away. The team is tired. The data is messy. Here's the Churchill build. First, ask for tools. Not 3 paragraphs, 3 items. We need last month's raw numbers, 2 hours with the stakeholder, and a green light on the scope change. That's your lend-lease. Clear, specific, time-bound. Second, build a corner. Don't rearrange the whole project plan tonight. Create a 1-page brief that states problem, approach, and success criteria. Make it beautiful enough to be proud of. It will hold morale together when the storm hits. Third, correct quickly. If the approach is failing on day 2, admit it and pivot by noon. Don't punish the team with a sunk cost sermon. Nobody cares how much we've invested in the wrong road. Change roads. Then KBO, turn the cranks, send the updates, finish the job. This is wartime thinking applied to peacetime burdens. It's not romantic. It's job done. But imagine if you wake tomorrow and you feel empty before you even begin. That happens. Churchill knew what it was to feel the weight before the work. When that feeling comes, start smaller. Ask for 1 tool, 10 minutes. Use those 10 minutes to make a list you can complete before noon. 1 corner. The trick is to reintroduce proof to your nervous system. Proof that you move, that you finish, that you are capable today, not theoretically, but actually. Finish 3 tiny things by noon and watch your sense of traction return. There's another edge here. Asking for tools requires courage because it makes you visible. It declares your aim. Churchill stood before the world and said what he needed. You can stand before your team or your own page and do the same. Visibility is a tax you pay to grow. Pay it once in the morning, in writing, and be done with it. And when night comes, and it will, measure the day the way he measured his. Not by opinion, by output. Did you ask precisely? Did you build a corner? Did you correct fast? Did you KBO? If yes, then the day has integrity, even if it didn't look impressive on social media. Integrity builds streaks. Streaks build reputations. Reputations open doors you cannot yet imagine. Here is where we close, as if the old lion were standing in your doorway, hat in hand, eyes bright with fatigue and humor. He would tell you plainly that courage is not a shout, it is a sequence. He would point to your desk and ask what tools you lack. He would insist you name them. He would tell you that failure is not an obituary, it is a workshop. He would tap your calendar and ask what you will change tomorrow to stop stepping into the same traffic. And then, lightly, with that half-smile he wore when telling a hard truth, he would give you the smallest and most stubborn order of the night. KBO. Ask for tools, rebuild with patience, correct without drama, and keep buggering on until the job is finished.